The following is a presentation of the Black Hollywood Live Network, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. Hollywood Redefined. From Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is Black Hollywood Live, Phenomenal Women, featuring in-depth interviews with today's most inspiring women. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood Redefined.
You're listening to Black Hollywood Live.
And now, the host of Black Hollywood Live, Phenomenal Women.
Hello, hello, hello. Go ahead, girl. Get your groove on.
I love this music.
I know, me too. It pumps me up every Friday morning.
Oh, yeah, I see why.
Hello, everybody, and good morning, and welcome to another episode of Phenomenal Women. Happy Friday to you. And I have a very special guest with me today. I have Miss Tiana Sanchez, who is a dear friend of mine, but not just a dear friend. She's an amazing, phenomenal woman. Why? Because she's a two-time author, one-time international, which I'm loving, and she is a speaker, sought-after speaker. She's a coach, she's a consultant, and she is here today to talk about her new book that is coming out in December. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I am so glad that you're with me today.
I'm so happy to be here. It's a beautiful day. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So talk to us about this book, because I really want to get into it, because I really want our viewers and our listeners to understand what Undefeatable is.
Yes. So I have a copy of the book here, and really the whole essence of the book is about taking a look at our failures and how we're going to have failures in life, but how it doesn't have to defeat us. And so this is really part of my journey. This book started out just being really a platform to kind of propel and launch my business, but it became so much more than that when I started writing about my own personal journey. So this book was published last year, and we're now releasing it on Kindle. So this is going to be great for people that love, you know, if you like a page turner, the dog ears,
right, you
get the book. But if not, and you're, you know, technologically savvy, then you can download it. So.
I love it. So let's go into it a little bit.
Yes.
Because it's a really, it touches on how, you know, not to allow defeat to take over you.
Right.
But you also talk about a very inspiring story
Yes.
of your sister.
Yes. So I'll give you a little background on the book, because when I wrote the book, it was a business strategy. So I wanted to use it as a platform to propel my business. And at the time, I had just lost my job. I was in the process of potentially losing my home.
Oh, wow.
Mind you, married with kids. So when I started this book, all of these things started to happen. And for a moment, I paused and I had to, you know, take a minute to really think about what I wanted to write about. And literally everything that happened within that time span became part of this book.
Wow.
And so toward the end of the year, right when the book was getting ready to be finished, so I thought, something happened. And it turned out to be something very enlightening, but it was, first off, a little tragic, and it was a story of my sister. So right at the end of the year, right around December 13th, I get a call, and someone tells me, you know, pull over. And I'm in the, mind you, I'm in Starbucks. I'm at the drive-through in Starbucks. I get a call, and they're telling me to pull over. There's nowhere I can go.
Yeah.
So I'm on the other end, and I'm listening as a person tells me, something has happened. I need you to sit down. And I'm seated in my car, and they say, your sister's in the hospital. She had a procedure done, and she had a heart attack. And immediately after that, I'm thinking they're going to say she did. She's died.
Oh,
she's
no.
dead. But that didn't happen. So they proceed to tell me there were some complications that happened with her, and that she was still alive, but that she was in critical condition. And so I immediately go to the hospital, and literally her story, 28 days of her story, because she was in the hospital, and 28 days later she ended up leaving, so it was a miraculous story. But it inspired the last chapter of the book. So the book is dedicated to my sister, and also the last chapter is dedicated to her, because she truly was the undefeated one. She had an undefeatable story. She didn't die, she didn't give in, and she beat it, and she made it through.
Yeah. I read the book. And I love how you not just cover this, you know, the story with your sister, but you cover all aspects of life.
Right.
And you cover, you know, when situations happen to you and how you don't allow them to make you feel like I can't come back from this.
Right.
Because we all have our fears. We all, feel a certain way about things. We have anxiety, but it's the way you come back from it.
Absolutely.
And you come back from it. And then when I get to the last chapter and your sister comes back from that remarkable story, that's what makes it all the best book ever. And I love it because it inspired me.
And I'm glad that it inspired you, and I appreciate that because it's not like a message that we haven't heard before.
Right.
There are so many people out there that are talking about, your failures in life and how to overcome them, and it's not what happens to you that defines you, but how you get through it. This is my message. This is my version. Everybody resonates with people differently. And so this is my take on it with my story, saying, we're going to have failures in life, but guess what? You don't have to be defeated by it. So I even try to take that word failures and give it a positive twist by saying failures teach us, they guide us, and they help take us in a new and oftentimes better direction.
Right.
So when we have those moments that we're going through and we just want to give up, that we want to throw in the towel and we want to say, you know what, I can't go on anymore, that there's something in this book that says, you know what, maybe I can just push through. Maybe I can read an affirmation. I can read something positive. I like perspective. And a lot of times in this day and age and what's going on, just to turn on the news and see what other people are going through sometimes, it helps to put things in perspective for myself.
Right.
So that also helps me. But there's some nuggets. There's 31 principles in the book. It's a very user-friendly, easy read, because we're all busy women, aren't we?
Right, right.
So I made it so that it's quick, it's easy to read. There's sections in the back of the book or after each chapter where you can write a little bit. And so it's just a great quick read, but it's going to inspire you. It's going to give you some key nuggets about how to push through this thing we call life.
Right. Well, let's go into the nuggets a little bit because I want to, I want the viewers to kind of get the how did you do it?
Right.
And I always love the how did I do it story. So let's get into that day when you lost your job and what did you decide to do when you got home to lift yourself back up?
So that day, it was spring of 2011. I remember so vividly. And I get called in and I'm told the news. I had a position and they were eliminating our position. It was being phased out. And I remember being told the news. I went home that day. I could have easily crawled underneath the covers and said, you know what, woe is me.
Right.
Pity, pity, pity. But when I tell you I had the best sleep that I had had
Are you serious?
in months. It was like a huge weight had been lifted from my shoulders. It was incredible. To be honest, and I talk about it in the book, it was a very toxic place for me at the time.
Okay.
I was in the financial industry. We know what was going on in the financial industry in 2008, 2009, and things were changing. And the culture in the company that I worked for was just becoming so toxic. And I knew, I didn't know how, but I knew at some point I was going to be making a career change. And so when that happened, I literally went home, had the best sleep of my night. 90 days later, I ended up launching my business. That's how quick. I had to make a decision. Was I going to go back into corporate America or was I going to do something different and follow what, and a lot of people say their passion, or for me it was a mission. I was on a mission.
Right.
And that's what I ended up doing 90 days after I left.
So you felt that there was something inside of you while you was in corporate that you knew there was something that you wanted to do.
Yes.
And you just needed that push.
Yes.
So it was like a blessing in disguise in a sense.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
It was totally a blessing in disguise. I don't even look at it, and I wouldn't even talk. I wouldn't talk bad about my experience or even the company. I think everything happens for a reason. That people and places are put in our lives for a reason. I learned so much from that experience.
Right.
I wouldn't trade it for anything. But I knew that there was something more for me. I knew that I wasn't being fulfilled, that there was the joy that was missing in the place where I was. And so I had started thinking about it a year before I actually got the news that my position was getting phased out. But I didn't know really where that was going to lead me. And that was okay. For the first time in my life, I was taking a leap of faith. And I didn't really know what was going to be on the other side when I leaped, because I'm a very structured and organized person.
Yes, yes.
And we always are as women, right? And this was something, it was unfamiliar territory to me, but I was so open. And by allowing that vulnerable side of myself, just being open for what was coming next, allowed me to not only write this book, but go on to becoming an international author, teaching students in colleges and traveling all over the country to do a lot of different things with this message in the book has been great. But I took a leap of faith and I did that.
Right, right. So take us back to that day where you go, okay, I'm going to start my business, which is what you started your coaching business first?
Yes.
So you started the coaching business first, and the first decision that you made was to go, okay, I'm going to do this. What was the first thing that you did? Was it naming your business? Was it starting the website? What's that first thing that you did?
I'm pretty ambitious. So one of the first things that
Me
I
too.
did was I started getting clients. I don't even know if I had a website yet. And I said, I'm going to start coaching people. Because that's what I'd done all many years. I said, I'm going to start getting clients.
So how did you do that?
Well, first thing I did was I started looking in my inner circle. I wanted to really start focusing on people that I knew already that I could help. So I started people that I knew, people that I had worked with in the past, even friends of mine that I knew needed some coaching. So I offered it to them kind of on an ad hoc basis, you know, and I started doing little coaching. And then I learned a lot about that process. And then I started expanding my network and started going to different events and started speaking. And that's when I really started speaking, platform speaking out at different events for free. You know, because I wanted to get the practice and I wanted to do that. I'm pretty ambitious, and sometimes that could be a strength and a weakness.
Yes.
Because you need to have structure, you need to have a plan. And so I learned, as every entrepreneur does, there's a process to this wonderful entrepreneurship, right? So, but that was one of the first things I did, was start getting clients. I did eventually have a website and you know, had my license to have my business and everything like that. But literally within the first year, I was invited to be a guest speaker for an empowerment conference that was held in Los Angeles. I had several clients that I was already starting to coach, and then I was expanding to training with companies. So that was really within the first year.
Right.
Yeah. So did I mention I was ambitious?
Yes, you did.
Did I say
yes,
that?
you did.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I was clear
because
on that.
you had some big companies, because it's Southern California Edison.
Yes.
You know, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers,
Yes.
Starbucks, Williams-Sonoma.
Yes.
All within a year.
Those companies came, some of those are recent as well.
Right.
One of the stories that I love telling is a company that I used to work for called Hot Dog on a Stick. It's a California-based company. And I worked there for many years. When I left corporate America, as I just mentioned, in 2011, one of my very first clients that I trained was Hot Dog on a Stick. So I thought it was just a beautiful story that I once worked for them, and they became one of my really big first clients. And so, but yes, I was able to work with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which was great. Traveling to Florida, crazy weather out there.
Yes.
But, you know, a little different environment. Sports, right? Edison, great, with a group of women there that I was able to work with. So just a phenomenal experience. I'm very blessed and grateful for what I've already done and what I'm looking forward to doing.
I love it, because I really would like the audience and the listeners to really understand what you've done in that first year. Because even though we're afraid, you went ahead and took the leap. And one of the advice that my mom gave me when I took the leap as well, when I left corporate, was that if you just go and pursue your dreams and you work, the universe will guide you. And that's what it did. The universe will guide you to meet the appropriate people, to network with the right people, for opportunities to come your way. So even though you feel that fear, don't worry about it. It's going to be okay, because it always ends up being okay. And you are in a prime example of how it ended up being okay within that first year.
You're so right, because I think what people fail to realize, they think, well, I want to go down this path. How do I get on this path and get through it without there being any mistakes at all?
Right.
That's not going to happen.
That's impossible.
So if you can first out the gate just recognize and embrace, you know, I'm going to have some bumps. I'm going to have some failures. I'm going to make some mistakes, but you know what? It's okay.
Yeah.
Because that's how we learn. That's how we grow. And once you can really embrace that concept, then you'll be so much better for it. But you have to get that out of your head, thinking, okay, how am I going to do this the right way? And the right way really is with mistakes and having failures in there. Nobody, no story, no success story, or anybody that's ever shared a story is going to say that they did it without making mistakes. And secondly, that they did it alone. And that, and to your point about networking and meeting the right people, that literally was my thing, my mantra. I was out building a network. I would meet someone who introduced me to someone else, who introduced me to someone else. And it takes time to build relationships. Relationships that I built 3 years ago are now coming to fruition and bringing business to me.
Right.
But it takes time. It's
Right.
not. No one is an overnight success, and you don't do it alone, and you don't do it without having some failures.
Exactly, and I agree. And one of the main concerns that people have is finances. And so in your situation, I want to, talk about one of the little nuggets that you
Yes.
did. How were you able to sustain yourself when you were starting a business that you were doing for free? What
Right.
are some of the techniques that you can give another womanpreneur, a woman entrepreneur, the nugget to go, you know what, it's okay. This is what I did.
Right. And it is a tough question. It is something that can hinder us from moving forward because we
Yeah.
think lack of money, right?
Right.
One of the things that I did have that I use, it's bootstrapping, which is basically using your own funds. I
Yeah.
had reserves, and I took my reserves, some of them, and I helped to launch my business, to create a budget for what I wanted to do in my business. But again, anybody who has a startup, within the first few years, maybe 3 to 5, you're still building and growing your
Yeah.
business. So you may not see the income, the fruits of your labor, so to speak,
Right.
in the very, very beginning. So you have to know that. Now, which I didn't know when I started, there's crowdfunding.
Right.
There's this other
Right.
whole platform. Hey, where was I when crowdfunding
Right, when
was
we started, there was
started?
none of that.
So I'm like, I would have completely taken advantage
Yeah.
of that. So crowdfunding is another source. You can do lending if loans, if that's something for you. Again,
Right.
I went more of the organic bootstrapping route where I used my own money. I used different investments that I have. In retrospect, I probably would have maybe done some things differently, but again, I learned.
You learned, and
You
that's
learn.
the process, and that's
You
the
learn.
joy about the process.
Right.
So now let's talk about this campaign that you have coming up with the
Yes.
book. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So one of the things that I'm doing this Christmas, as it marks the 2-year anniversary of my sister's experience, again, this December 13th will be 2 years since the day where she almost lost her life. And so to honor her and to honor that, we're celebrating her life and also in the process donating proceeds of the book sales to an organization, to one of our local communities that's building a building for the disabled individuals, mentally and physically disabled. It's a $5 million project. And I want to make my contribution. So this December, we're launching a campaign starting December 1st, and it's going to be online Kindle sales. So on Amazon, they can get it. And 50%, so it's a half of all proceeds are going to go to
Wow.
this building for the enrichment of disabled persons.
So you want people to buy it in a certain amount of time. How does it work?
Thank you. So
Yeah.
there's really 2 parts to it. So one part is creating awareness and expanding our social reach. So we've partnered with Thunderclap, which is a great online social tool that allows anybody to join our cause. So there's no money to join the cause.
Okay.
We need 100 supporters to join our cause, and on a specific day, our message will be shared on your social media site, on your Facebook page or your
okay.
Twitter page, unanimously. So it's one voice all together, and everyone has their own social reach. So right now I think we're at 29% of our goal, and we have a reach of maybe 20,000 people. So when we get 100, you'll see how big that can
Yeah,
grow.
absolutely.
So on a certain day, it'll all hit the Facebook pages or Twitter pages. So that's one ask that we're getting. The second one is, yes, December 1st through December 12th is when the Kindle portion of the campaign is going to be accessible. So they can go onto Amazon, download the book, December 1st through December 12th. All of the proceeds made during that time, that's what's going to be donated. So 50% of that will be donated to the enrichment of disabled persons.
Okay.
Yes, so December 1st through the 12th. And when they go to the Thunderclap page, then they can also see that. So that's my give this holiday season.
I love it. I love it. So let's reiterate that. So December 1st to December 12th
Yes.
is to purchase the book.
Yes.
During that time to support the campaign that you're sponsoring.
Yes.
And then to also go, and where can they go on Thunderclap? Is that thunderclap.com or?
Yes, so it's a pretty cool little site. It's thunderclap.it.
Okay.
So thunderclap.it. And if they were to search The Undefeatable Book, so you can go to there's a little search space there, go to The Undefeatable Book. You'll find us. We're the only undefeatable book campaign going on.
Okay.
And then all you do is support. You click down below support. You let us know if you want to support via your Twitter page or Facebook. And that's it. We do all the work for you. You don't have to do anything else.
I love it.
And that's where they can find it.
I love it. I love it. I wish you the best of luck with that.
Thank you.
And what else outside of, the campaign that we have here on the screen for our viewers, what else do you have going on? I know you got so many other things going on.
I'm so blessed. I feel really good about where I'm headed. I just finished an event with a friend of mine who does a women's night out event. It was a great group of women's camaraderie. Just, I live in a household of a bunch of men. So it was nice to have some estrogen for a change. This coming week, actually, I'm going to be participating in a panel at a university. One of the things that's near and dear to my heart, too, is working with college students. So I've been spending a lot of time on different UC campuses, and local colleges. So I know that's going to be some work that I'm going to continue to do in the new year as well. So really, on my agenda, it's limitless. So look out for more speaking events and book signings and all of that.
And where can they find you? I know on Twitter we have you at Tiana S_coach.
Yes.
On Twitter, but where can they find you on Instagram? Where can they find you on, your website, so they can just follow you and possibly book you for upcoming speaking engagements?
So the website where I have all of my contact information and feeds is on designingyourpath.com. So like designing, Y-O-U-R, your path. PATH.com. So when you visit that site, you'll see me, you'll see any of my upcoming events. You'll also have information where you can contact me if you want to book me for a speaking event, local church, retreat, anything like that. Reach out to me and we can talk about it.
I love it. I love it. And before we go, I want to ask you, what piece of advice would you give, our ladies out there for the new year, the new you? One of the things that, a lot of people have issue with is staying consistent. And, you have that drive. You have that new year is coming in, that new you is coming in, and you have the momentum. Then all of a sudden it just fades. What advice do you have, as a consultant and coach on how to keep that momentum going when you hit April, May, and June and the rest of the year?
Well, first off, when you're thinking about setting a New Year's resolution, remember, it may be a new year, a new you, but there's still old habits that you have to get rid of. So I would say before you even get to that point, let's start weeding out some of the old habits and the old junk that you need to let go of this year. So new you is great, but I'd be more of really getting rid of the old you and the old habits, because that's what's going to keep you down in the new year. So getting rid of the old habits before the new year and the new you starts to come out, that would be a great piece of advice that I would say, because once you do that, as you're going through the new year, things are coming up, you'll be a little bit more focused. You'll have hopefully that more consistency, because some of those old habits have now dropped by the wayside. So yes, it may be a new you, but get rid of those old habits.
And then stay consistent on getting rid of the old, because the old habits creep up. So it's like, you have to stay aware of the old habits as well, so that you don't let it overtake you. And next thing you know, you look up and you go, wow, how did I end up here 3 months later?
Have an accountability partner. That's another thing. People talk about, one of the things as a coach of what I do, and I love what I do, because I try not to advise, but it is more of, let me ask you some questions. My goal as a coach is really to do two things: to get you to think and to move you to action. You have to have that self-awareness and that self-realization. So have an accountability partner. Get a coach, get a mentor, someone who's going to keep you accountable for your actions and for things that you are going to do to keep you on track. It could be a friend, it could be a family member, it could be a trusted advisor, anyone that can help you stay accountable. That's really going to help as well.
Are you a firm believer that when you stay accountable and you get the coach, that when the coach advises you on things to do, that it eventually will turn into habit and that it'll eventually come natural for you?
I would use that example, exactly what you said. Look at a basketball player and a coach. Look at a sports team. Sports teams, they have that same philosophy. You have a coach coaching these players. At some point, that coach wants to coach up and train their players enough to where when they're out on the floor and they have to make a momentary decision, the coach is not going to step into the game and say, time out, I need to interrupt my player while he makes this decision. He's trying to build his player up to the point when they're in the midst of something that they can make a decision for themselves because they've practiced it. They've talked about it. It becomes a habit. It becomes something that they can do. And they may make the wrong decision occasionally. Again, that failure, that mistake, it's okay. But you correct, you self-correct, and you get back on track.
Right.
So I do believe being held accountable definitely helps, and it can help you to create some new and better habits. Because we do want to get rid of the old habits,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
We want to create some new. So I always liken it to basketball. Come up in a basketball family too, so.
Right. Did you play basketball?
I sure did. I sure did. My husband will laugh when he sees this.
Right. So that's why I just wanted to, point out why having a coach is so important on your journey of being an entrepreneur, because they will help you stay on the path. They will help you keep that momentum going.
Right.
And, they will encourage you when other people are not encouraging you to keep going forward. And that when you make those mistakes, it's okay.
That's a perfect definition of a coach.
Absolutely.
And what kind of coach would I be if I didn't have a coach?
Exactly. Or myself.
And I have one. Exactly. I have coaches. I have mentors. I don't do this. I don't pretend to do this stuff by myself.
Right.
And nobody else should.
Exactly.
So we always want to do, and especially as women, we want to wear the hat. We want to wear multiple hats and do everything, and we don't have to do everything.
I love it. And that's a good note to end on. You're a phenomenal woman.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you coming and talking to us about your talents, talking to us about what you do for the community, talking to us about what you do for women, and just all around what you did for your sister. And
Thank you.
Just dedicating that book to her. Thank you
for
so
having
much.
me.
Thank you for being here. And thank you again, as always, for being with us on Friday mornings. I'm your host, Ashida Onrae, and I look forward to inspiring you next week.
Kristen, Tiana Hobson, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire BHL crew, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us at info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I'm your BHL announcer, Scipio. Instagram me at Planet Scipio. Thank you for tuning in. The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.